Hi guys, we're back on the Project T4 and today we're fitting the diesel heater. In one of my recent videos you'll have seen me unbox this 2 kilowatt diesel heater, and that's what I'm going to fit into the T4 right now. So from underneath I've done a few measurements and this is my likely spot for my diesel heater. I've done a couple of pilot holes and I think I'm going to end up just in between them, given the room underneath, just in front of the wheel arch underneath. I've taken the hole saw attachment off for this. I've just used that drill to go in there, and we're going to check outside underneath just as a last check before we make the final hole. That's my drill bit sticking out, and coming back out slightly you can see there's enough room for the turret plate to come through there. My old hole saw wasn't really up to the job, and as you can see I had to buy a new one. Now these things aren't cheap, you can get a cheaper version, but it's better to use something like this than not make the hole for the turret plate. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just slice through that like it wasn't there. Nice new hole saw does the job. It's important not to press too hard, let the saw do the work. I'm just offering up the turret plate. Fits nicely in there. So I'm going to paint the edges now, make sure we don't get any rust on the metal where I've cut it. So for this part we've got the heater out, we've got the exhaust pipe, we've got the air intake pipe and the turret plate. I've also bought some extra Jubilee clips, and instead of this stuff, which is, it don't last long, put it that way, I have bought a separate white pipe kit. I'll add the links to the turret plate, the heater and the pipe kit in the description, and we're going to fit all those together now. That's the studs fitted, turret plate on, nuts on, and I've tightened them diagonally. So that's that bit done. I'm just going to put a rubber pipe on there for the fuel inlet, and then put the exhaust and the air inlet pipes on, and then we'll pop it in the hole. So I'm going to pop this rubber on with a clamp to fit it there, and for that it's going to be a bit hard to get in there with a screwdriver, so we're going to use a 7mm spanner or a 7mm socket, whatever I have the most room for. That's that clamp done and tightened up. This hose for the exhaust, it's very sharp, be careful with the ends. Get your Jubilee clip over that, and that one goes, it fitted nicely in there now. I think I might cut a length of the white pipe, push it in there and get that clamp on as well. Then I'm going to put some sealant around there when I'm fitting it, but I'm just going to pop it in the hole now just to make sure it all goes in well. So I've checked outside underneath, and that's the position I've decided is best for the heater, as I'll show you underneath now. I've made pilot holes so that when I take it back out so I can seal it, I know exactly where I want it. So that's my position inside, and we'll go and look underneath. So there underneath you can see I'm going to be able to put my exhaust pipe around like this, pointed towards the rear, and the air intake I can have up here out of the way. It's going to go behind that exhaust shroud there, and they'll be both well away from each other. And the way I'm initially going to do it, I'm going to have my pipe, fuel pipe, coming back in around about here, or possibly to the side, because I want everything inside to start with, and hopefully it won't be too noisy with the fuel pump, but I'll be able to check everything's working okay and keep an eye on it. So I pulled the heater back inside the van. I'm going to use the usual CT1 sealant around the metal edge and also around the top. So effectively got a double seal to make sure none of that carbon monoxide can get in. So now I'm going to screw down the heater unit using these that come in the kit. That's an 8mm screw. It's a drilling screw, self-drilling, self-tapping. So it's an 8mm top, so I'm using one of these with my impact driver. So those are in tight now. I'm just going to seal up underneath with the CT1. That's the CT1 sealant all around the edge of the turret plate. The pipes are where I want them. I'm going to let that dry for a little while and work inside. The next section is quite simple. I'm having all of these inside, so I've laid them out how they're going. I've cut a short length of the white pipe off. I'm going to drill a hole somewhere around here. The pipe obviously goes in from the bottom, so one of these is already fitted on the bottom of the heater, as you've seen, so that will go into the bottom of the heater. The other end will join onto one of those using these little clamps. That will go onto the fuel pump. On the other side of the fuel pump we'll have another one of those with the clamps, and then I'm going to try to directly fit the fuel filter to the other side of that if there's enough room, and then another one to the other side of that, and then we're going to have a short length of pipe and another one of those connecting it to the fuel tank. Now that fuel tank's a bit big for this van. On a previous one I've put one in at an angle, and I've ordered a replacement one for that. So this is one that comes in an all-in-one unit that I stripped down the other day to see what was in it. The video's available on my videos if you have a look, and it's already got those fitted. It's a much smaller, more suitable to this size of van, so that is going to go on the end there. I'm going to connect them all up. But first I've got to make a hole, so I'm going to check underneath again, and this is a pipe off a battery. It's a battery breather pipe, I believe that bit goes into the battery. It might be off something else, it could be a windscreen washer, I'm really not sure. But the good thing is that pipe is about the size I need to protect this pipe as it goes through the floor of the van. So I'm going to cut a section off that, drill a hole to suit, fix it in the van floor, and push the white pipe through it. That's my fuel connections all done. We have the little fuel tank, and I'm not planning on leaving these where they are. This is for demonstration purposes. Once I get the bed in there, everything will be attached underneath the bed. Fuel tank, fuel filter, fuel pump angled between 30 and 45 degrees, and the pipe out that goes underneath and back in to the diesel heater unit from underneath. I'll show you the connections underneath shortly. So I'm going to put some fuel in there, see if we've got any leaks, and connect up the electrics. Okay, so we've got our positive and negative connections for the battery, connection for the main unit, connection for the fuel pump, and this one, connection for the controller. So I'll fit the controller up there out of the way in a second as well, so it can all be laid out so you can see it properly. As you can see now, the bottom connections are all done. The fuel pipe goes in and up into the floor, and I've blobbed a bit of sealant around that as well. It doesn't need a clip on here because the pipe runs straight through it. It's just for protection. And the exhaust is now mounted to the sill, pointing out, and the air filter has got a couple of those on it because I had a spare one to hold it in place up out of the way. That's just coming up behind the exhaust heat shield bit there. So we're all done underneath. We're going to put some fuel in it. Okay, final checks. Underneath was all right, as you just seen. We have fuel in. I can't see any leaks there. We'll check for leaks as we're going along as it's pumped through, but we'll see what's happening as it's all above the floor. And the power's connected. Obviously the battery's not strapped down. It's not going to be staying like that. This is for testing purposes, and we have power. So let's press the button and see how many times it takes to prime it. Obviously cool air blowing out already. We'll see if the pump kicks in. Obviously the pump's kicked in there. The fuel's making its slow way along. I'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, there's our first error code, and the fuel has only got around to the arch, so we'll try again. So we'll try the manual pumping way this time, but the trouble is you have to keep your fingers on it. Oh, seems to be moving quite quickly. My fingers aren't getting numb yet. Taking a little while to fill up the fuel filter, but hopefully not much longer. I've got it, as far as I can tell, all the way through. I've just turned it on again properly, and the pump's just starting to pump. Hopefully we'll have some warm air soon. Looks like a good sign. Does feel like the air's a bit warmer than cold. It's not warm yet, but it does sound like it's working. The exhaust's running clear now. The pump's a lot quieter, and we've got lovely warm air. Might be able to dry myself off now after that bit of rain. I'll let it run for a few minutes and then shut it down. It all seems to be working fine inside now. You can only just hear the pump tapping. No leaks. It's all nice and simple fitted inside, and partly the reason for that is I'm thinking of making this into a bit of a swamper. We might go off-road a little bit, up some green lanes and things, so the more things inside the van rather than hanging down outside, the better. The next video I'll be fixing the battery in place and building the bed, and soon after that we'll be doing a split charge kit fit too. Thank you for watching. Please give us a thumbs up. Bye for now.